So blisters can be really, really nasty. Let's talk about how to prevent them and how to treat them. When I was at the Green Mountain Hostel in Vermont, I spent some time with Slow and Steady. Slow had gotten some serious blisters when he was hiking down south on the AT during his through hike. His feet had gotten wet, and he'd hike in wet socks and developed horrible blisters. Little did I know that within a week or two, I would have a similar problem. So blisters are a really common problem for long distance hikers. Let's talk about what causes them and how to prevent them, and finally how to treat them. So blistering of the skin results when there's damage to the transition from the epidermis of the skin, the top layer of the skin, to the dermis, the live layer of the skin below it. When this happens, the epidermis lifts off away from the dermis and fluid can collect in between the two layers. There are lots of causes for blisters: burns, friction, pressure. But when we're talking about through hiking, it's basically that blisters are caused by friction or pressure. Consequently, preventing blisters involves strategies to reduce friction and pressure on your feet while you're putting on big miles. There are several things you can do to reduce friction and pressure on your feet while you're hiking. The first thing is that you need to take care of your feet. It's really important to keep your feet clean and dry. When I'm hiking on the trail, I have a ritual every morning where I make sure my feet are clean and dry. I make sure my socks are clean and dry. And the other thing I do is I apply Body Glide to areas where I tend to get hot spots on my feet. These friction reducing compounds really help a lot. They're easy to find. I even have a tiny little, here it is right here. I have a tiny little trial size for Body Glide that I use, that I carry with me. I put this on my feet religiously every morning. The socks you choose are also really important. You need a pair of socks that work well when they get wet. In particular, merino wool socks are fabulous because of their properties when they get wet. I highly recommend that you have merino wool socks when you hike on the Appalachian Trail. There are several different brands that make these socks. I think the most popular are Darn Tough socks. Darn Tough have a lifetime warranty for their socks, and I've replaced many of my socks without any cost to make sure that they stay in great shape. The other thing, if you want, particularly if you have lots of problems with blisters, is you can use a sock liner. These typically are made out of silk or a smooth nylon material that will help reduce friction underneath your socks. So the next thing is to make sure that your shoes fit well and are broken in. Lots of problems with blisters happen because shoes are too tight or there's a lot of friction when you're walking in your shoes. It's important that shoes have ample room for your toes to expand, and it helps that they're lightweight too. This is perhaps why trail runners have become so popular now when hiking on the trail. Many people think they need a heavy boot that's waterproof to protect their feet and help support their ankles and other parts of their feet. I've even had problems with my ankles. I fractured one of my ankles years ago, and I found that hiking and trail runners actually makes my ankles stronger, and after time on the trail, my ankles feel better. Hiking in a boot just gives you friction and pressure and really can predispose you to getting blisters. So look into hiking and trail runners. I think you'll find that they're much more comfortable. Perhaps the most popular hiking trail runner right now is the Ultra Lone Peak. Ultra Lone Peaks are lightweight, have a very large toe box, and hiking in them is almost like hiking in slippers. I really find them wonderful. The only issue some people have with the Ultra Lone Peaks is that they are a zero drop shoe, meaning there's no raise to the heel. I thought I might have problems with this since my calves tend to be tight, but actually I'm much more comfortable in these shoes. And if you have any questions, just get a pair and walk in them for a while before you go on the trail. The final thing that you can do to prevent blisters is to pay attention to your feet. If you find that you're developing areas of friction on your feet or hot spots, it's really important to pay attention to those and to take care of them right away. Probably the best thing to do is to apply tape or some other thing to prevent friction to the area. I really like Leukotape. Leukotape is amazing stuff. It will stick to your skin and it stays on the skin for a prolonged period of time. When you put Leukotape on a hot spot, it'll typically stay on there for days, and very often you have to take it off yourself. It doesn't fall off on its own. Instead of carrying a large roll, I actually take Leukotape and I wrap it around an old chapstick container that's finished and make a small roll. Here's my roll of Leukotape right here. This is what I carry with me. And if I develop any hot spots on my feet, I peel off the Leukotape and cut it or tear it and cover up my hot spots to protect them from more friction. So what do you do if you get a blister? Well, one thing you can do is actually take some time off trail and rest for a couple days to help things get better. Regardless of whether or not you're able to take time off trail and rest, you have to take care of the blister itself. Conventional medical wisdom states that you should leave blisters intact and not drain them. The epidermis serves as a layer over the skin to protect bacteria from entering into the skin. So leaving the epidermis intact theoretically will help decrease any chance of infection with a blister. I don't know if I really believe this though, because if you're out on the trail hiking and you have a blister, it's going to rupture. It's not going to stay intact. I prefer to drain blisters under a controlled situation that's sterile. And so if you decide you want to drain a blister, how do you take care of it? How do you do that and keep it clean? Well, it's actually not that hard. What you need to do is first of all clean and dry the skin where the blister is. And then you want to take a sharp object, and I carry a safety pin with me. This is my safety pin from my backpack. And the safety pin will do really well to drain the blister. You need to sterilize it. You can do that with alcohol, or if you have a lighter, you can just take your lighter and put the tip of the safety pin into the flame, and that'll kill any bacteria on the tip of the safety pin. You're going to take your safety pin and rupture the blister near the edge of the blister and then kind of milk the fluid out of the blister. And then dressing such as Leukotape can be applied directly over that. If your blister is already ruptured, probably the best thing to do is just to clean off the skin or take off the skin around the blister and unroof it. You can use a pair of scissors to do that. Or for example, if you have a little Swiss Army knife with a pair of scissors on it, here they are right here, you can use these scissors to trim off your blister. Once that's done, make sure it's clean and covered up with a dressing or apply something like Leukotape. Well, I hope you found this useful. Remember to take care of your feet when you're out on the trail and keep them clean. Treat hot spots when they develop. And if you get a blister, take a little extra time and care to make sure it heals properly. I'll be out on the trail soon, and I hope to see you there.